We got another special guest. I'm a Louisiana baby, Mansfield, Louisiana, that is. And growing up, there was always this debate, cash money or no limit. This is just like this ongoing debate. But when it came down to McKinley Mac Phipps Jr., he was always the deciding factor. My guy right here, he sold over 400,000 copies of his album Shell Shock. It reached number 4 on the Billboards and hip hop R&B charts. He also followed that up with World War III, which also reached number 6 on the Billboard charts. At the height of his career, he was convicted of a murder that he did not commit. I'm gonna let him tell the story, but please give a round of applause for artist, entrepreneur, musician, husband, father, my guy Mac.
Whew. Good afternoon. This film was heavy, and y'all give me a minute, I had to gather myself because it brought back so many memories for me. For those who do not know who I am, my name is Mac Phipps, and I've been a professional hip hop artist since I was 11 years old. I started about 7 years old, and as the brother mentioned, on February 21st, 2000, I was arrested for a crime that occurred at a musical event that me and my family had put together. A young man was shot in the midst of a fight, and I'll get more into it. But before I get into that, I just want to tell y'all about me and how I started. I am the eldest of 6 kids. My mother and father had 4 boys and 2 girls. I grew up in uptown New Orleans, and at a very young age, I fell in love with words. I mean, I would write all day long, I would read encyclopedias, I would study everything that had to do with words. I just was obsessed with words, right? And I learned early on that words were so powerful. And you know, as kids, we are taught, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt. Can I speak frankly with y'all? No, they got kids in here. That's the biggest lie I ever heard in my life. I don't know about y'all. Words can inspire you. Words can encourage you. Words can hurt you. Words can change the whole trajectory of your life. Every Sunday, most of us go to some church house to hear words. Words are probably one of the single most powerful forces on this planet. And I became obsessed with it as a child. I started writing songs. My parents was looking at me like, what are you doing? I'm 7 years old, walking around the house. I'm just trying to emulate what I saw people do on TV. So I think around 11, I started taking it serious. I got in a few contests, and I won a contest that would eventually land me a record deal. I recorded several projects over the years, and in 1996, I met a man named Percy Miller, who we all know in the world know as Master P. All right, so Percy Miller signed me to his No Limit record label, myself, Snoop Dogg, Mystical, the list goes on and on. And at about 19 years old, I was able to travel the world. I was able to buy my family a home at 20, something that I always wanted. Because up until that point, I had never had not only never had my own room, I never had my own bed because my parents had 6 kids. And we were poor, and we grew up in the hood, right? My dad worked, and my mother had to take care of the kids at that time. You know, that was the way they worked things out, right? So when I bought my family this home, I was so proud because now I can get my family out of that situation. Everybody has their own room. I got a swimming pool in the backyard. I got basketball. Everything that I ever wanted as a child, I wanted to do that for my family. And I was so happy and I was so excited. And then One night I came home from a tour. Ironically, the last place that I performed before I made it home to the night that all of this happened was at Suge Knight's Club in Las Vegas. I performed at Suge Knight's Club 662, where Tupac would eventually leave and get murdered. So I made it back home. My son's mother was pregnant at the time with my son. She was about 6 months pregnant. I remember sitting with her, rubbing her stomach and singing to my son while he was still in the belly. I got up to leave and she said, "Where you going?" I said, "Well, my mother and them have an event that I have to go to in Slidell, Louisiana." So I'm gonna pause there. Is anybody in here familiar with Slidell, Louisiana? A lot of people raised their hand. Slidell, Louisiana was historically, the word is, it was founded by the white flight. Those people who left New Orleans because it got a little too black. You know, the population of New Orleans started getting a little black at a certain time, so a lot of people fled what they call across the lake. It has had a long history in our region in southern Louisiana with racism. In fact, at the time of my arrest, the chairman of the Republican committee in St. Tammany was David Duke, the former Ku Klux Klan Grand Wizard at the time of my arrest. So Slidell is that kind of place. I heard the brother here speaking about the hand-picked jurors, and I'll get more into it as I tell my story. So I don't want to forget that point. And the brother here, I literally was going to say what you said, the last thing about what can be done. What do the family do now? I think what you've done is great, and I think if we just continue to tell this story, you're doing it now. Fast forward, I leave out the house. I get in a caravan of about 5 cars. Typical, when I leave to go, we have an entourage. I know rappers tend to have an entourage. So we leave in about 5 cars, and we get to this place. Wasn't my type of place. It wasn't the typical place I would do appearances or performances. It was a relatively smaller club, but my mother was throwing a showcase there to showcase some of the local talent in that area, right? Well, I think around a little bit past midnight, I noticed a commotion happening on the dance floor. At the time, I was signing autographs and taking pictures with a few of the patrons. It was dark in this club. Imagine it was smoky. There's smoke everywhere. So we're in this dark, smoky club with this loud music playing. And some of y'all know about that 90s rap. They had gunshots in the beat. Like you hear pow, pow, you know, all that. So you hear all this going on, right? And when I saw the commotion, I looked and I saw my brother, my younger brother, the brother that's right under me, who was an LSU engineering student at the time. I saw him in the middle of a fight, like pushing. He was holding 2 guys from fighting. Like his hand was on this guy, and I was like, y'all chill out, right? Well, one of the guys was my little cousin. And the other guy was some drunk guy who kept getting put out the club and coming back in. They kept letting him back in because he knew security, right? Well, when I looked, in the midst of this commotion, I heard, bah, coming from what appeared to be that way. The commotion was this way. The shot came from that way. My immediate reaction was, the young lady who was standing next to me, I pulled her to the ground. I said, get down. You don't run when you hear gunshots. We don't know where they're coming from, right? So I said, get down. And when she got down, I did something that would change my life. I pulled my gun from out of my pants. And I'm gonna pause there. My mother was collecting the admission fee at the front door. My father was monitoring the pool area of the club, him and my uncle. I had about 10 guys on the dance floor making sure that was covered. Remember, we came in a caravan of about 5 cars. I had aunts in there, I had uncles in there, and I had my mother's sister, my aunt's boyfriend, was the back door bouncer. He's very important in this story. I want y'all to remember him. He was the back door bouncer. So when I rose up, the first thought in my mind was, where's my mother? Right. My mother is collecting the admission fee. I don't know who's shooting. I don't know who's the target. I don't know if they're shooting at me. But what I do know is I gotta protect mama, right? So I took a step this way, and about 4 of my friends kind of surrounded me and said, let's go, Slim. Let me get you out of here. So I have this gun in my hand. I don't want to bump into someone and have this gun go off. So then I did the second thing that would change the trajectory of my life. I held the gun over my head, like the police, because I didn't want to bump into anybody. I'm the tallest person in the room. So I scooted through everybody like that, kind of like that. And as I'm scooting toward the front door, I'm yelling, where's my mother? Where is my mother? Where's she at? Where's she at? I don't see my mother. Made it to the front, my mother is not there. Run back through the club, go out the back door, jump in my truck, and my mother is in the truck already. Get in the truck with moms. About 10 people piled in my Yukon Denali. Imagine, no, it was 12. 12 people in the SUV. We piled up on top of each other. We headed out. Drove from Slidell to Baton Rouge where my home was, and when I made it to my front lawn, the guy who was babysitting my 2 younger siblings said to me, Slim, the St. Tammany detectives just called here and they want to question you about a shooting. Before that moment, I had no idea that someone was shot in that club. What I told y'all that I saw was what I saw. I saw a commotion, I heard a shot, I grabbed my gun, ran toward the front door. When I get to the house, they're like, Slim, they want to question you about a shooting. So the first thing I did was pull my friends in the room and I'm like, yo, what happened? Man, I don't know, Slim, I don't know. Somebody knows something. Because I saw all of y'all in the midst of this commotion over here, so somebody knows something. Man, Slim, I don't know. I said, y'all know I'm not no snitch. What just happened in this club? Them people said they come and question me, so I need to know what's going on in this club. Man, Slim, I don't know, Slim. I don't know. I said, you, come here. I pulled one in the room, closed the door. I saw you hit somebody with a pistol. You sure the gun didn't go off? He said, Slim, I hit him with the butt of the pistol. So if the gun would have went off, I'd have shot myself. I said, you sure? He said, I never lied to you. I said, well, you need to leave. So I came out the room, I told everybody to leave. I said, get away, y'all go. Because if the police come here and we all don't have the same story, I need to be the only one talking. So everybody go, everybody leave. So everybody took off, or at least they tried. They made it to the corner, and about 30 police officers had surrounded the whole neighborhood. I looked out the window. My mother was on the ground, face down. My father was on the ground. My brother, all of my friends. I sat in the house. I thought about everything I just seen in the last hour, just trying to make sure I could remember everything. And the police came in. My dad came in with him. He said, son, they want you. I said, let's go. I put my hands out. I said, listen, my little brother's school bus will be here in about 2 hours, and I don't want those kids to see it. I waive all of my rights. Y'all can search whatever y'all want to search. Just get me off this scene. They said, as soon as the detectives get here, we're going to do just that. Well, detectives get there, they get me, bring me to Klein Peter substation in Baton Rouge, and they do the interrogation. And the interrogation room, I'm pretty sure the special agent is familiar with, where was she? That's where I learned that I was not as smart as I thought I was. These people are experienced, they're trained. They're trained to get a certain result. They know what they want, right? So they brought all of me and all of my friends in different rooms, and they questioned us. At the time, no one had died. It was an aggravated assault investigation at the time. So they questioned me, and I was only guilty of one thing. Remember, they hadn't told me anybody died yet. So I'm not even concerned about the shooting, because whoever got shot is gonna tell them who shot him, right? So I'm not even thinking about that. But I didn't have a permit to carry a gun in the club. So I got to deal with that right now. So when they asked me, did you have a gun on you? No, I got no gun on. Nah. I made the biggest mistake in my life, and I lied to those people and told those people that I did not have a gun on me. Unbeknownst to me, several witnesses had told them, yes, he did have a gun on him. He was running through the club with a gun in his hand. Man, I ain't have a gun on me, man. I ain't had no gun. So they were like, okay. Somebody came in the room, whispered something to the detective. Detective turned to me, and he said, this is now a homicide investigation. And that's when I got scared. Because now, whoever was this victim, a person that I didn't even know, never seen, they can't speak for themselves now. And I'm in this room, these big old white boys. This is scary. All that gangster rap stuff I was talking about, it didn't prepare me for this.
That's right, that's right.
So I'm sitting in this room, and they asked me about all of my friends. And I told them, for example, do you know anyone named Joe? Who is Joe? What we taught in the hood, ain't no snitching, right?
Right.
Who is Joe? They're like, you don't know a Joe? I don't know guy's real name. They called him something? The detective looking at me like, you must think I'm a fool. Well, what about Jimmy? You know a Jimmy? Nah, I don't think I ever met a Jimmy. All right. What about Malik? You know Malik? Malik? Who is Malik? All right. So you don't know any of these guys? Nah, I said, dudes be fans, you know, they just be coming up to me and asking me, you know, for autographs. All right. Unbeknownst to me, they got Jimmy in the room. Jimmy, do you know Mac? I've known him since I was 12. Not just that. Where were you at the time of the shooting, Jimmy? I was by the pool table. Where was Mac? Funny thing is, he was playing pool with me. For real? Yeah. Did you see him shoot anyone? Nah, he'll never do nothing like that. All right, get him out the room. James, how long you known Mac? Oh, I've known him since we was about 8. Where were you in the club at the time of the shooting? Man, I was using the bathroom. Did you see Mac? Matter of fact, he was using the bathroom too. He was in the stall right next to me. Malik, right? Yeah. Let me guess. How long you been knowing Mac? Man, I've been knowing Mac for as long as I can remember. All right. Where were you at the time of the shooting in this club? Man, you know what? I was getting me something to eat. Did you see Mac in the club? Funny thing is, he was getting him something to eat too. Y'all see where this is going? Because my friends didn't lie to me in my house when they told me they didn't know what happened, I thought they were lying. They didn't know. They felt the need to protect me. They placed me in about 10 different places in that club. But they all shared in common that Mac could never do anything like that. And because I didn't know what happened, and I didn't want to incriminate any of them, I don't even know them dudes. Who? Malik? I don't know Malik. So nevertheless, when it was all said and done, the detectives felt we got to hold him. They looked at me and they told me, son, you're being arrested for first-degree murder. I was 22 years old, and up until that time, I had never had anything but a traffic ticket. I'd never been in trouble. I was gainfully employed. I was never a criminal. Came from a good family. Parents been married, still married today for 47 years. They brought me because after they told me I was being charged with murder, I told them I did have a gun on me because now I need the gun on me to free me. See, I want them to have the gun that I had on me now because now I want them to test this gun and see that it wasn't fired. So I told them, well, I did have a gun on me. And now I brought them to the gun. I bring them back to my house to go get it. And that's when they told my mother that I was being charged with first-degree murder. And I think my mother passed out. That was my first time ever seeing her just lose it, you know. So they brought me to the parish, and I'm gonna tell you, and anybody here who've ever been to jail before, the first time you went, and I hope nobody in here go, I was scared to death. Nobody knew it though. The look on my face said I was a G. I was scared to death. I had never experienced jail before. Nobody prepares you for that, right? I was so scared that I think I plotted on killing like 3 people in the dorm. First 5 minutes I was there, I was so scared. I saw a guy looking at me, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna throw him over the balcony. You had another guy walk past me, he said, yeah, Mac, I was feeling your music in the street. I shook his hand when he walked off. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do him something because he's trying to play with me. So I was paranoid, you know, because I had never went through anything like that. And the whole time I thought that the justice system was gonna work itself out. I had convinced myself that just pray McKinley and everything's gonna be all right. I spent 19 months fighting this charge. 10 days after my arrest, the most interesting twist in this story is, remember the backdoor bouncer, my aunt's boyfriend? He went to detectives and he confessed to it. And he told them that he was the shooter and why he shot him. And they let him go. They let him go. He wasn't a rapper. He wasn't famous. They couldn't get no publicity and attention. They couldn't get more rank for dealing with him. They had already blasted all over the national news that Mac, the camouflage assassin, is the person who shot this young man. So they weren't interested in going back and having to admit to their constituents that they made a mistake. If I thought that these men really tried to prosecute the right person, it would have made me feel better. But I think within the first 24 hours of this case, they knew that I wasn't the person who committed this crime. And they just went with it because it served them in selfish ways. So he confessed, they let him go. I can't even explain to y'all how I felt after that, because I didn't know what else. It's like, so someone confessed to this crime? They had cameras in the club. They came up missing. The tapes came up missing. So the guy who owned the club was a drug dealer who was under investigation, who they eventually arrested, mainly because he got on TV and told them that I wasn't the one who did it. So they arrest him, all of the tapes in the club come up missing. But before I talk more about me, let me just say that there was a victim in this case. There was a 19-year-old young black male who lost his life protecting his friend from the onslaughts of punches and kicks from the guys who were stomping him, some of whom came there with me. That's a fact that I don't never like to discount, that there is a family who have to go to the graveyard to visit their son, their brother. But justice for that family was never served because the wrong guy was arrested. 19 months fighting the charge. This guy confessed to it 3 times. His federal probation officer, why, came and testified for the state. My client felt pressured to make this confession. Pressured by who? Probably pressured because my aunt called my lawyer one day when the detectives left their jurisdiction, came to Orleans Parish and threatened him not to come to trial. So when it was time to go to trial, I still had my faith. I still believed that, McKinley, as long as you keep praying and you keep doing the right thing, it's going to work itself out. The power of words. I remember vividly when they said, has the jury reached a verdict? And they said, we have. They said, everybody stand. I stood. They said, we the people of the state of Louisiana find the defendant, McKinley Phipps, Jr., guilty. They say sticks and stones may break my bones. I remember when they said it, I just cried. I really didn't know what to feel. I thought everything was supposed to work right. I believed in people until that moment. Everything I had been taught was a joke. I just laid my head and cried. Made it back to the dorm that night, cried myself to sleep. And that was the last time I cried for about 10 years. Appeal after appeal, denied. My lawyer, who I thought did a decent job, he is currently the district attorney of New Orleans. And I think St. Tammany had the jury already rigged. It was an all-white jury, predominantly over 40. During the voir dire hearing, there were only one black juror to pick from the whole 36-member jury pool. They said that during the questioning, they asked certain questions to see who they was going to pick, and they preferred the people who thought that the police were always right. I remember a white guy, a professor, he was a professor at Tulane, and they asked him, how do he feel about convicting someone of a crime that carries a life sentence? And his words were, for you to convict someone of a crime that carries a life sentence, you would have to prove to me beyond a reasonable doubt that that person is guilty. We're talking about a life sentence. Got him out of there. We don't want him. Think too much. Ask this lady, what you think? Well, you got to be guilty of something. I mean, he's here. We want her. We want her. And that's pretty much how this hearing went. I was ignorant to the law, and I know they say ignorance is no excuse. My lawyer had convinced me not to testify because he said, if you testify, they're going to use every song you ever rapped that had any violent message in it against you in court. And they did, even without me testifying. The power of words. In 1998, I wrote a song called Murder, Murder, Kill, Kill. I was the dummy that wrote a song called Murder, Murder, Kill, Kill. But let me just state this for the record. Boy, it was a hard song. It was fire. I was 21 years old, I was full of energy, and it was fire. Ironically, Murder, Murder, Kill, Kill was a battle rap. For anyone familiar with hip hop, it was just me just showing my dominance over other rappers. That's all it was. Had nothing to do with actually murdering and killing somebody, right? It was a military cadence. Murder, 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 kill, 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 kill. Got that from my daddy. On my album cover, hell, I wore one of my daddy's fringe field jackets. My daddy's a Vietnam vet. I always been, I ain't gonna say obsessed, but I always liked the military. I never went, but I always admired him. Thinking a past life I would have been a special forces member or something. So I wrote Murder, Murder, Kill, Kill, recorded it. Never thought that it would someday be used against me in court. The district attorney said in court, murder, murder, kill, kill. F with me and I'll put a bullet in your brain. Those are the words of this young man. I'm sitting there like, damn, it's kind of powerful. Like, dude sound like he guilty. He had me convinced that it's kind of raw. I mean, he got the point. But where he was wrong was, see, both of those lines were from two different songs that were totally unrelated, had nothing to do with each other. But he was just he was remixing it, taking pieces of this, pieces of that, putting them together so he can make a statement to an already all-white, predominantly over 40 jury, and I looked guilty. I'm a 21-year-old black kid in Slidell, Louisiana, right? I didn't stand a chance. So fast forward, I'm gonna wrap this up. At some point I realized that money was not gonna get me out of jail. At some point I realized that they had no desire for the truth. I had met members of the victim's family in prison who had told me that they knew I didn't kill their cousin. They knew. Detectives didn't care. One of the victim's cousins, every time they brought me to court, they brought him to court. And they were trying to intimidate him into saying that I'm the person who did it. He didn't. And they sent him to prison for it. They made him back up probation time and eventually just sent him down the course where he was getting locked up all the time. When I got out of prison, before I got out, I determined that I was gonna have to work my way out of this from the inside. And so I started volunteering, I started mentoring, I started doing community service and just making myself of service to anyone and everyone I can help in the prison. And because so, in 2012, they gave me the best award I ever received in my life. The brothers in the prison gave it to me, and that was the Humanitarian Award. And regardless of any records I sold, regardless of any accolades I accomplished in the music business, this was the most important award to me because it was given to me for doing nothing but being myself. I had no idea that they was doing this. It was actually a surprise. They called everybody in the prison to an event, and when they went to pass the award out, they was talking about the person who is the recipient of the award that night, and they was talking about all that he do, and I was like, damn, that dude do a lot. And after that, they were like, and he's a former recording artist of No Limit Records. And looked like the whole prison just turned and looked at me, and I was standing there like, man, y'all wrong for this. Because I had no idea that people were watching. And sometimes people are watching when you're doing the right thing. Y'all know we say we got haters, people paying attention when we're doing the wrong thing, but guess what? There are people that's watching you when you're doing the right thing. Right. And those brothers proved that to me. And that was in 2012. So around 2014, I met this woman. And she was coming to facilitate an interview for me with, was it XXL? One of those publications. And so we started getting close, and we eventually fell in love, and we got married in the prison with we didn't know when I was getting out. We just knew we was fighting. We loved each other, and she believed in my innocence, and she believed in me. And I'm gonna tell y'all, if y'all have people in prison, if it wasn't for my family, if it wasn't for y'all who write them, who talk to them, who go to see about them, they can be in one of those mental wards, I'm telling you, because it's a lot. And she came, and she believed in me. That was the most important thing. And eventually, she worked on the outside while I was working on the inside towards my freedom. And in 2021, Governor John Bell Edwards granted me clemency, and I was able to come home. Unbeknownst to me, she was in the governor's ear. About 3 of my friends were in the governor's ear. And I was on the inside working and building relationships with the people that were in the right places to help out. And after 21 years of being in prison. I remember when they told me that I was going home. I made parole at like 9 o'clock in the morning, and about 11, they called me to the security office, and there was a guy there. He said, hey son, you know who I am? I said, no. He said, well, I'm with probation and parole, and I came here to talk to you about the rules of probation and parole. I'm like, all right, cool. So he's telling me about it. I look at the paper, and he was just like, yeah, so this, that, and other. So I said, well, I got some questions. He said, what's up? I said, today is Tuesday, and I know normally people get out on Fridays. So am I gonna get out this Friday or next Friday? Because I need to know what I need to do with my stuff, because I need to go back in the dorm and pack and start sending my stuff home so it could be, with my family. He said, son, did you read the paper that I just gave you? I said, what are you talking about? He said, you asked me about Friday or next Friday. Did you read that paper that you just signed? I said, no, sir. He said, look at the paper. I walked off. Baby, y'all better come get me right now before them people change their mind. This man gave me release papers. I didn't even read them, I just signed them. So imagine, I'm 21 years. I've seen guys, it take 2-3 weeks, a month for them to get out of the system. That's a lot of paperwork, right? 21 years, I make parole at 9 o'clock. I was on the streets of New Orleans at like 12:30 noon, walking around like a dinosaur. I didn't know what was going on. I'm looking at people like, what is everybody on the phone now? I still don't know what to do with this. I promise you, I'm not lying. I still don't really know how to. She does everything for me. Can y'all give it up for my wife? Because she do everything. I'm telling you. I mean this too. I'm not just saying this. I'm stuck in 97. So, before I ask anybody, do anyone have any questions, I want to share a very vital ending to this story. The district attorney who prosecuted me is now a convicted felon. His name is Walter Reed. He was taken into federal custody years ago. Wiretap fraud. He had ran that parish for about 30 years, and the only thing they could get him on was wiretap fraud. Oh, but you could trust and believe. It was way more dirty than that. But they gotta get you where they can get you, right? Follow the money, that's what they do. But the most interesting character and twist in this story was the sheriff who oversaw the investigation. Sheriff Jack Strain now has 4 life sentences for molestation, rape, incest, dating all the way back to the 70s. He is first cousins with Walter Reed, by the way. First cousin. Partners with David Duke. They was all, And I ain't just making this up, this is real talk. But these are the people that were running St. Tammany Parish. Your highest officers in the land. Your sheriff, your district attorney. So who am I to come to that parish and get some justice when you have criminals running these places? How do we stop it? Remember, these men were elected. They were elected. So how do we stop this from happening? I am tired. I don't know about y'all, but I am sick and tired of stories like this. This needs not to happen no more. What happened to me needs not to happen no more. This is insane. It is 2024. My wife asked me, what you want to do when you got out? I said, I want to make sure that this never happens to nobody else. So when I look back at my situation in my case, words were used against me. Song lyrics. So you know what my wife did? My wife spearheaded a team of people, legislators, lobbyists, and we got a law passed. Last year it became law on August 2nd, 2023, something called the RAP Act. The Restoring Autistic Protection Act is Louisiana law. You cannot use song lyrics as a character witness against an artist in court again.
All right.
We're trying to get it passed on the federal level, but we have it passed in the state. I think the new governor put it on his chopping block, what, twice? Came up twice. He still ain't messing with it yet, because guess what? It's about free speech. Because if you mess with this, then you got to mess with your boys when they go to saying all these old racial, you know, you got to say that too. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't have to like what you say to defend your right to say it, right? Freedom of speech. So we got that passed, and just a couple weeks ago, we won an Emmy. We both won an Emmy for a documentary called Rap Trap. If y'all haven't seen it, it's called Hip Hop on Trial, and it basically covers my case, Young Thug's case, and a couple other guys. Features like they interview Killer Mike, Fat Joe, a couple people get interviewed in it, but it's mainly about my journey and how the criminal justice system was leveled against me for words. They had no murder weapon. They had no credible witness. They tested me for gunpowder residue. The test came up missing. So remember, the one thing that could have freed me came up missing. No gunpowder test residue. They had no weapon. All the witnesses said they were threatened and coerced by the district attorney. Not by detectives, by the district attorney, who eventually became a convicted felon. In the criminal justice system, when they sent you up north, up here, we all got spooked. Y'all know they got a little jail called David Wade not too far from here. Right. It's well known amongst the prisoners that's where they send the slaves to break them. I'm gonna send you up north. Oh, no, I don't wanna go up north. Nobody wants to go to David Wade because it is known that them white boys gonna hurt you. That's well known in the prison system. So that says a lot as how it relates to Caddo Parish. So anybody have any questions before I leave?
Answered all the questions. I was going to ask you a question about the gunpowder and the gun and stuff, but you know, when you took them back to your mom's house in Baton Rouge and they went to get the gun, they didn't test it out. They didn't say that you didn't even shoot the gun.
They did test the gun. They determined that the gun wasn't fired, but their argument was that you had an hour to get from from Slidell to Baton Rouge, in which you could have thrown a imaginary weapon that they never found. You know, remember the investigation was just, it was all about what we can sell to the jurors, right? And they sold a better story for a more biased audience, if that makes sense. Like, you know, I'm just simply put, if I put my fans right here, who that was said the cash money and no limit argument. All right, the no limit and cash money argument. If I put all no limit fans right here and ask them who better, no limit or cash money, who you think they're gonna say better? They're gonna say no limit. Same thing with the jury. I'm gonna have certain people in this jury who see me a certain way, who already have a preconceived notion, because I'm a person who, I don't think that everybody is racist, right? I am not a person who believes that most people are racist, but I do believe most people are prejudiced, because prejudice means prejudge, right? Most people have their biases. Some of them are unconscious, based on how you were raised and what you were taught. And I believe that I don't have to tell you that this person is guilty. You already think he is. Because we don't like them we don't like them typing these parts. You know. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Make one comment. Juries in Caddo Parish are based on voter registration.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's a low voter registration of blacks, then there's going to be less people in a jury pool.
Guess what? Good observation. I have a friend named Mia X. Anybody ever heard of her? She basically advocates for blacks to get on juries. She will go tell them, look, do jury duty. Because you know a lot of black people like, man, jury duty, man, I'm ducking jury. I ain't gonna just say blacks. You know a lot of people be ducking that jury duty. Man, I be telling people, go get on that jury. Yes, sir.
This is almost more of a statement too, as well. Some of us as African Americans, we answer questions in a way that gets us off juries. Either A, because we feel a particular way, that'll get you off a jury, and B, a lot of us don't want to miss work.
Right.
We don't want to miss work.
Right.
We on jury, but you can't get paid, so we get out of there. But we have to understand, it might be important to you not to miss work until you're the person sitting in that box.
In that box.
So we got to start thinking about getting ourselves off of juries.
Right. Because guess what? The people that want to send you, they're going to get on that jury. They're going to get there. So I would encourage everybody, do jury duty, vote. Please register to vote. Please register to vote. I don't advocate any particular candidate, but register to vote. And thank y'all. It was good. It was great. Great audience.